Hey y'all, what's going on? It's Marcus from MOTIV8, and we are back with another episode of MOTIV8 Unplugged. What's up? We're back for episode 2 of the season, and we got another new face in the room. Say what's up to Brittany.
What's up, guys?
So today's topic, we're dealing with all about relationships. Relationships, dating, singleness, engagement, marriage. Oh, go on, show your ring.
Right here. You know, they really had me do that dance after I got engaged.
They did?
The DJ played the song, and they had me do the whole dance. Like I didn't know the
I was about to say, you knew it.
I was about to say, good thing I was prepared.
Right.
You got engaged with a DJ?
What?
Wait.
What?
I got engaged at a party that had a DJ. Yes.
You said she
No, I was wondering why there was a DJ at your engagement.
Yo, that's question. Next level though. Hey girl, say I do. Drop that record.
Wow. Say I do.
Oh, snap.
Okay.
So, dealing with the topics of relationships is good because we have someone in all facets of life here. We got marriage, engaged.
Don't call me out. I dare you.
No,
don't
marriage,
do that to me.
Engaged, and we don't know.
There you go. And it's complex.
I was about to say, don't get him in trouble.
That's what I said. We don't know.
Don't.
Wow.
And depending on when this video comes out, he may have blocked you from watching it. If it's you, YouTube restriction. Let's talk about this video's not available in your current country.
Pimping all over the world.
I was thinking biting out of the mic.
I see it. So, woo, my God, this is going to be an interesting combo. Dealing with relationships and the good things and the bad things and how to survive in a relationship while being saved.
Ooh.
Wait, what?
Right.
Okay. What stage of the relationship while being saved?
Well,
Because there's levels.
there's levels.
If you're doing stuff in the relationship, are you still saved?
Ooh, that's a good start.
Wow.
He came out swinging.
Because I need that answer.
So the answer is you're still saved, but you're sinning.
Well, you know.
By whose standards?
The word of God. In the name of Jesus.
Which version?
Which version?
Message Bible says.
Yo, the message will have you jacked up, yo.
Bruh.
The message and the passion, man, I be sitting there like, Jesus ain't say that.
Right.
No, I hit my little compare button on my Bible the other day, and I stayed on whichever one it was. I don't know what translation it was, but I went to go look for the book of Revelation. And so I just automatically scrolled down to the bottom. That's the last book of the Bible.
Right.
It kept going to stuff I was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Let's go back. NIV.
Let me do what I knew.
New
I tell
King
you one thing,
James.
a Shaquita wrote the message.
Yeah.
A Shaquita wrote the message version.
Yeah.
Because the way it talks, like, I'd be like, throw hands then. Because
No, for real. That joint is straight Ebonics.
truly, though.
For real. All right.
Bible
Well,
talk.
Let's get back to your question here. What are you doing in a relationship? Because I think that's going to be the answer. Because there are some people, let's just be real, some people in their belief or religion who have been taught that you can't even kiss until your wedding day.
Well,
And I love Jesus, but I ain't getting to the altar and find out you got cracked lips.
okay.
Heck no.
Because can we talk about it? My love language is physical touch. If you are not affectionate, I don't feel loved. Therefore, I'm not waiting until marriage to kiss my man.
that's
Not happening. I mean, to each his own.
But it's not
But-
more or less the physical touch. I guess it's more of the temptation that comes after that physical touch.
Well, here we are.
Well,
That's the question.
But that's a good question because I did have that question where somebody asked me, didn't ask me, was just like, I didn't realize that just because I'm still a virgin, I was still doing other things that's still
Well.
considered sinning, and it's not purity. So when we get into that discussion, it's when you talk about, we can do everything else in the book but penetration.
Well,
If it penetrates your mouth, it's still sex.
Oh,
what just happened?
wait, did you?
The visual I got.
Let's get real with the saints, because there's a lot of people out here acting like they holier than now, and truth be told, you still a bust down.
Ooh. A what?
Bust down Tatiana.
Doing the dance and everything.
The only WAP we should know about is worship and praise. You all right? You all right? You all right?
Lean on the mic, Dave. Just lean on the mic.
But for real though, I think the conversation of what is considered sinful in a relationship, especially as being single, because everybody here is messed up.
A few times.
That's why I asked, okay, what
How about
stage are we talking about?
Yeah, I guess in the dating stage, if I wanted to have the conversation more on letting people know that what you start with will literally be the trajectory of your relationship unless you change. So if you start with sex, the completion of what you feel is good in your relationship cannot be achieved without sex.
Right.
So having the conversation of how do we steer away from that when we decide to act right, because it's tough.
Yeah.
I'd say straight up, it was tough.
It was very tough.
Ooh, Jesus. Okay. Yeah, it is very hard to to make the decision that I ain't gonna live like this no more.
But I think it was easy for you two because both y'all came to that decision together. Like both y'all were like, we need to straight.
No. Not in the beginning.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was not in the beginning.
Okay, so
Bro won't down with it.
No, I wasn't. Y'all ever heard of BC before Christ? This is before conviction.
Well,
No, so we were already living together.
Yeah.
that I remember.
So it was even tougher because it's like, nah, bro, you got the key to the cabinet and the cookie jar, but now I'm letting you know I'm changing the locks. It's like, what? You want me to sleep on the couch?
So my question is, how much longer did it take for you to put the ring on her finger?
Oh, no, it expedited it. So anybody who say that they don't want to change or get married because you told them they couldn't get access is full of crap.
Wow.
If you really want someone, you'll have a wake-up call of either I really love this person and I'm going to choose to either abide by what they want to do biblically or I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the other hand, if you are that person, male or female, that makes the decision and your partner is going up against it, you have to stand your ground.
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to stand your ground because every time you give in, they take you less seriously.
Yeah.
And you're setting a precedence for the rest of your relationship.
Yeah.
They're not going to take you seriously when you're really trying to get down to the nitty gritty of your relationship and, dealing with the hardcore stuff that really needs to be dealt with. They're not going to take you serious because, well, you said you didn't want to have sex no more, but the next week I was right up in it again. And so it's
wow. Jam.
So whichever side you're on, if you started the relationship like that and one of you get convicted and it's like, okay, no, we have to stop, hold your ground. You don't put yourself in the environment where you're going to fall into the temptation.
Yeah.
Set those boundaries and hold your ground. Like
Well, I'll tell you straight up.
Clink, clink.
Yeah.
Like Medea said, you got
lockdown.
down.
But I'll tell you straight up, her
hard.
rigidness and her immovability was what caused me to really be like, all right, well, it's me. it's not you.
I need to get my life together.
Because for real, like if you're in a sinful state, you will think anything to validate your wants. And you got to remember, now it's not that you're wanting it just lustfully. I'm wanting it because now it's a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because now I can't see you without this.
And
You're
that
attached
access.
to this act. So now when you take the act away, I question who are you?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be real in the conversation of, do I love you when I can't get it?
That's real.
Oh, it get real.
Because
good.
everybody love faces. But do you love me when you ain't getting none?
Yeah, we're not just talking about your 5 or 7 days when you're on a monthly.
Well,
First of all, who's on for 5 days? But okay.
no, that's expedited.
Right.
No, but I think it's a good, real first question of how. How did you get beyond that? And stressing that you'll never really fully get into a godly place in your relationship until it's not there. It's got to be eradicated. There is no, I'm going to send my way into this marriage, because if you do send your way into the marriage, you're going to have the first beginning foundation stages of your marriage literally be shaky because you're building upon sand. Well, not really, you're building upon sex.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation.
But here's the thing. So being that someone who started the relationship long distance, we got to a place where we got to know each other forcefully because that option was not there. So when we tested the limits, I feel like our love wasn't compromised because we already knew each other. We already had conversations. We already understood habits or understood triggers and understood all of that jazz. So when you ask the question, like, how far is too far to get saved? When we talk about the godly aspect of it, I feel like anything that I felt like I was making God turn away from me convicted me.
Wow.
So whether that was us having sex, whether that was snuggling up on him while we Netflix and chilling, that conversation was had. We can't do that no more. Because and one thing that I love about him, not to brag on my fiance, one thing that I love about him is that he was completely understanding. Although we were at two different places in our walk, he was completely understanding and checked me when I wanted to succumb to the flesh.
That's good.
That's a good man.
That's a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's a good guy.
That's why I'm marrying him. Hello.
That's good. That's really
Both
good.
y'all.
No, for real.
Right.
You give me an inch, girl, I'm going to run a mile.
Listen.
Or 10.
I got
5K? What you mean? Shoot. But I think one of the things that could help with people who are watching, learning that what made you hot and bothered one time, it may be something different the next.
Wow.
So you can't have a one answer fits all type thing. It could be, if you kiss me behind my ear, it's going down. No, this time it's because he wore this cologne. Or this time it's because...
Or in my case, anytime I saw him, let's just do it. Let's forget what I said. Let's just do it. I know I said I don't do no more.
She abandoned everything.
Do it. He'd be like, but you just said, forget what I said. Let's just do it. But listen, I think, and what you also have to think about too is that every person has a different level of sin in their own mind. Every person falls differently through different things. So where it could be kissing for Gabe, it could be handheld holding for you, it could
Forehead
be
kisses.
Leg touching for
Lord,
Marcus.
Jesus.
Like everybody has their own way to sin, and I don't think one person's way is better or different or worse than the other. I think you just have to be mindful of what that trigger is.
Yeah.
Sin is a gateway drug.
It really is. But and sometimes it's so good, but here we are.
Well, if
That's
sin
why-
didn't feel good, why would it be sin?
Right. That's the problem.
Like sin would, if it would equate to punishment, no one would do it. The enemy, of course, is going to give you something that feels better than what you feel like you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And truth be told, it's not that it feels better. It's just you've been told not to do it. So let's get all the way back to Adam and Eve. It wasn't that they were in a shortage of food. It's just I was told that I couldn't have that one. And it's the same thing with
And someone
relationships.
reminded them they couldn't have that.
Bingo. And it's the same thing with relationships and validation of feeling as though you have to leave singleness to be in a relationship. It's because you've been told, well, I got to be in this because someone told me I'm not a real woman or I'm not a real man unless I have.
Right.
So it's entering into something has to be a real, okay, I feel led by the Lord to do this, not led by society, not led by my cousins and my aunties and my grandmama and them. Because people abandon singleness because the pressure of grandparents and when you gonna give me some great grandbabies and moms, when am I gonna hear some little feet running around? No. Don't put yourself in a strain in your relationship to appease others' thoughts of what you should be doing. I mean, that goes back to last episode with validation, but people rush their relationships to be able to feel as though they've met this goal.
Yeah, like marriage is an end goal.
It's not.
And it isn't. Like it's
not.
Like marriage is buying a house or getting your first car or your dream car. It's not.
It's
You gotta
not.
keep that joke up.
No, for real.
It really isn't. Like that's a huge misconception because marriage is work, and if you haven't done the inner work on your own, all it is going to do is magnify your traumas and your insecurities.
Right, because can we talk about it? People have put such a stigma on being single.
Yeah, a negative stigma.
Mm-hmm. And it's there's something so beautiful in singleness that I feel like people just don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like people look at somebody single and be like, "Oh, girl, when you gonna get you a man? When you gonna find a woman and settle down?" No, let them live in their singleness.
Yeah.
And I feel like in my singleness, when I truly became single, because people sometimes. Because people sometimes think just because you're not with someone means you're in singleness. No, your mind is in a relationship. Your mind, everything about you is in a relationship. Your singleness is when you're okay with you.
Yeah.
By yourself.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So like for me, before I met my fiance,
I'm gonna do a fiance counter on the bottom of this video.
Ding! It'll never get old.
No, it will when you say husband.
Well.
Hi, Shukamahaya.
Here we are. Before I met my fiance, I really took time to date me. I took myself out to restaurants, even though it was so awkward for me.
Oh my
Because I was never the one to go somewhere by myself. Took myself out to eat, got my nails and toes done, paid for it myself, sent myself flowers. You know what I'm saying? I was falling back in love with me because here's another thing about singleness. You can feel like you're healed, but until you meet that person that shows you your reflection, that's when you find out what you did was put a Band-Aid on it in your singleness.
On a gunshot.
It's a test. It's a test. You can think you retaining all the information you need to getting all the knowledge you need to get. But once the test is in front of you, if you haven't done the real study time, put in the real study time, you're not going to get the answers right.
Right.
And so there is no true way to tell whether you've been healed, whether you're truly over something until the test comes. Yeah. And when you don't react the same way, and if it doesn't sting the same way it did, that's when you truly know that you've grown from it. Yeah. When it's certain stuff, you try to figure out that happened at a specific time in a year. Mm-hmm. And you try to figure out, why am I feeling like this or acting like this? And you look at the calendar like, oh, this happened last year. Right. And you get mad all over again. You're not over it.
Right. You're not healed yet.
You're not healed yet. But once that time goes on and you do the work and you go back to the calendar, like, that whole date passed and
I
didn't know. Like that's growth, but the test has to come. You have to go through the test to really figure that out. And so that's important for people to hear, in their singleness, because like that negative stigma, it's not negative to be by yourself.
Nope.
It really is not.
And church folks be the first ones.
Yeah.
When you gonna get married.
Yeah.
When you gonna get married.
But then be mad when you sleeping around.
Hello. Be the biggest whores in church.
No, for real. I feel like that pressure from the church, it's not balanced.
No.
Of, hey, get married, but don't you have sex? And it's like, well, if you want me to get out there, right. First off, ain't nobody in this church I want to be with. So for me to find someone who's like-minded, who's been taught the same thing, I don't want what I'm around.
Yeah.
So I'm going to seek it from an outside source. And let's be real, they ain't being taught what I've been taught. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I go out here and interact with some people whose only mindset is, I'm going to seal this deal by sealing this deal, because that's going to let me know if you're worth the pursuit. Mm-hmm. But it's tough.
There's no balance, because it's from this age, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex, get married. You didn't teach me how to date.
Ooh, triggered.
There was no lesson on there was no lesson on courting or how we should interact with the opposite sex. There was no coaching or any of that.
There was.
All it was don't have sex.
No, there was coaching.
MTV.
Everyone's been taught about this fairy tale concept of
Disney
this person's
Channel.
going to come in your life, sweep you off your feet, and everything's going to move great for you. You're going to make sure that the wedding's paid for by your father, and all these things happen. Let's be real. That is not real life.
That's also not what I was taught. So
but if you think about it, if I wasn't taught by everyone who's been teaching me, I'm going to defer to what I see. Most children watch fairy tales. So when I don't get what I was brought up to see, I'm not going to be satisfied. And then here you go, you mad because you ain't get Prince Charming when truth be told, Dante trying to love you the right way. I don't know who Dante is. Dante, don't you use this clip if you got this. Don't you use this clip trying to get you a woman. But Dante come up, but because he doesn't love you the way that Cinderella taught you to be loved, it's not good. I just had to step on that for a second because I always see a few fellas who I follow on Instagram and they have this conversation of women will say, I want a good man, but we'll look over the good ones because it doesn't match up to what society says looks like a good man. If I don't have the appeal that, I don't look like Idris, but I got a $150,000 job and I'll take care of you and I love you the right way. It's like, where are we going to have that conversation of what are you really looking for? Oh yeah, don't get quiet now.
No, because I think everybody, and what we would call it is my type, or like I always grew up thinking I was going to marry a dark-skinned, tall chocolate man. That ain't what God had for me.
He had better. He had better.
You got caramel and average height. That's what you got.
And I'm good.
Hey, nothing about me average. I know who I serve. I don't serve an average God.
No, but a lot of times, because people are so locked into their own types and what they want, they don't leave room for other people. And they don't leave room for God to really move in their lives, especially if they are not, grounded, if that's not their foundation.
Can I step on some toes? That's because we have a vision board generation.
There ain't nothing wrong with a vision board, okay?
there is a problem. There is a problem with a vision board if God sends you something, but your focus is on what you've determined that you want, and He sent you something that is greater than or what He really destined for you, but you can't see beyond what you planned.
Yeah, well, okay.
I don't think that's it either.
What is it?
I know for me, I wanted so bad not to have what I saw in my house.
That's good.
But what ended up happening, because let's just put it out there, this ain't my first time being engaged. It's not my first time about to get married. This is marriage number 2 for your girl. So I ended up, my first marriage, marrying exactly what I saw, which tells me when these good guys come around, it's outside of their comfort zone. They don't know how to handle that. So when a good guy comes,
that's good.
It's not that they don't want that person. It's just they're not familiar with it. They don't know what it's like to have a good man if at home they've had nothing but cheaters and beaters in their house. You know what I'm saying?
You attract what you are.
You attract what you are.
Yeah.
That's real because and especially with women too. When you ask the question about, the good guy and not wanting to date the good guy, and attracting what you are. If you don't feel you're worthy, and a good guy is trying to approach you, if you don't feel like I am good enough for him, you will do what you can to sabotage. Like, you will not entertain that because of your own self-worth and value. You have none. So in my mind, I'm thinking I'm not good enough for that. Like,
I don't qualify for
I don't even qualify. And I'm going to be insecure with every single female that is in his life. I'm going to be secure with his mom, his sisters, his cousins, aunt, whoever it is.
Wow.
Any woman in his life, I am going to be insecure because I don't even feel like I deserve to have that.
girl. And here's the thing. We will hold on to the wrong guy for a long time. But when the right one comes around, we'll try to fight our way out of that bad boy.
So
self-sabotage.
I was about to say, so is it true that someone can sabotage a relationship?
Oh,
self-sabotage.
I
Absolutely.
almost didn't get engaged.
Why not?
Because going from what I went from
Mess
to bless.
I like that. Mess to bless.
Copyright.
It just wasn't. I was waiting for the ball to drop with him. I was like, he's just done paid to get my nails done. They took me out all these fans.
He's
too good to be true.
So hold up. Let's talk about that. So if you're talking about you were waiting, is there such thing as falling in love? If you have reservations.
Now you asking a difficult question.
Right.
Hold on, let me
Give me
think
a
back. What
definition.
happened?
Sound it out. What's the Greek?
Can you fall in love?
What's the Greek origin?
If you have reservations. If there is a semicolon to your love. It's not complete. There is a but. I love you, but I'm waiting for you to do this.
Well, I feel like
he speaks.
Oh God. I feel like falling in love is a process. There is no end date and there is no start date. There's no exact date where you said, this is the day that I fell in love with so-and-so. There are moments and there are actions that have led to you believing that you have fallen in love. Those reservations, by the time those reservations fall, you will not have noticed that they've fallen. Then considering that you're in love, that's when you would know that you're in love. At least that's how I see it.
That boy don't say much, but
That
that
was
was a gem
good.
dropper right there.
That was good.
That was real good.
That was
let me
good.
shake it up again.
I agree. Well, I agree.
I'm gonna shake it up again.
I concur.
Can you save a
And I'm
bad
single.
relationship? He answered
Today. He's single today.
But when this video come out, he may not be. Okay, here's
after this 90-day challenge.
Come on here.
He may not be.
Come on here. All right, so here's my my next question. Can you save a bad relationship?
What's the bad
For what?
part of the
Why would you want to?
relationship?
Ooh.
For what?
Why would you want to?
That's what. For what? I don't.
But like for us,
unless God showed
our
me.
relationship won't bad. So okay, so not bad in the emotional side of being bad, but spiritually bad.
Oh, then no, you gotta let that go.
Can you? But I don't know. We turned ours. Can you save a spiritually deemed bad relationship? Can you take a relationship that has had fornication inside of it, that has had some
Shacking up.
Yeah, because I mean we did,
That's what they call it.
and we just made year 6.
Of being married.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amen to that.
not of being on a lease together. A lease don't mean you married.
Oh, gem dropper.
Wrong contract.
Oh, if it ain't on the marriage license, it don't count.
Right.
And here's the thing: an engagement ring
Watch yourself. Hold up now.
does not give you the keys to park in the garage.
Yes, it does. Because my name's on the list too until I move in.
No, not that garage. Ask Cardi.
Or Megan.
And we'll be back.
I'm just saying, it's real though, because I think a lot of people, the scripture dealing with is better to marry than to burn.
Oh, I felt that in my soul.
And we have a lot of people rushing into marriage because I'd rather do it right, but with the wrong intentions. I'm not marrying you because I want to marry. I'm marrying you to shut you up and for me to gain access. So a lot of these godly marriages that we see crumbling and falling apart, it wasn't because that God's not in your marriage in this 3-corded strand. It's because you really only got married because you wanted some.
Yeah, but where's the part where God gets the glory?
Out of the 3-corded strand being, or
no,
what?
I'm talking about in bad relationships. When you're talking about spiritually bad relationships, what part of the relationship is giving God glory?
Repentance.
If it's none of it, then you got to let it go.
Repentance.
Yeah.
Turning from it.
When you ask, is it worth it to save a bad relationship spiritually? It's worth it if you're both on the same page. If you both eventually come to the same page,
that's being equally yoked.
how we were able to, it's worth it.
Yeah.
But if you are unequally yoked and you're still having issues, let it go.
And
move on, because that person is blocking
But
Who God is trying
let's
to
break
send.
down what it means to be unequally yoked, because we got some people who watch and be like, you talking about eggs? No, we're not talking about eggs. Yoked. YOKED. Like on the ox. If you
Well,
have a
it's
weight
spelled the
that is
same,
leaning more to one side, it can cause something carrying it to fall or stumble because it's not balanced.
All right.
So
preaching
if
here.
you're talking about having it to be equally yoked, means that you have the same beliefs, the same mindset, the same conviction, and you also have the same spirit that's leading you to cause you to walk in balance
Mm-hmm.
to what God has called you to be. And a lot of people are finding themselves stumbling in their relationship. It's not because the relationship is hard or because the enemy's coming after your relationship. It's simply because this joker don't know Jesus.
What about the ones that do, and you still not equally yoked?
That means they're not for you.
Well, here we are.
Just because they're saved does not mean that it is God ordained. If that was the case, everybody saved in the world would be married right now. Jesus is not a check mark for saying yes to the dress.
That's the button.
Well,
There it is. Wow.
So if we're talking about relationships and we want to get into the longevity of relationships, because I think we need to have that conversation. A lot of people, what happened to the old school, yo, this is my girl for the long run,
Right.
instead of the red box concept of a relationship.
Right.
Nah, I got halfway through the movie. It wasn't that great.
Right. No, that's real.
And it's not because I think we
they
also
called it going steady.
Yeah, going steady.
Me and such and such, we going steady. Oh
steady.
no, like they're together.
At what point does it become nitpicky? In breaking apart a relationship? Is it because, this person, I'm going to tell you real, I've met some people who will not stay in a relationship because a person doesn't put the toilet paper roll on the right way. Is
I
that
think it's more
getting
so
to nitpicking?
accessibility than nitpicking. I think nowadays it's a lot easier to get divorced than it was then. I mean, culturally.
Yeah.
And even like the process isn't as long. My divorce took a week when it finally got rolling. Like it took
A week?
like a week. Once the signatures got on the thing, we had the next week we got a court date, showed up. Y'all want a divorce? What do you want? Just your last name? Bet. It was over. So like nowadays it's just so easy for somebody to be like, we can't do this. Let's just get a divorce. And it just be that easy.
So dealing with the divorce, let me ask you this question. Did you have to heal more when you got into this relationship, or were you fully healed before you entered into this one?
No. Even going into this one, I was finding that I was still scarred. Not so much like, how do I put it? It wasn't like it still hurt me, but there were some things that triggered a memory or triggered a response that I was used to doing in my marriage that I noticed trickled into every other relationship. So that's why I said you can, in your singleness, you can think you're healed and you can think you're okay. But when that right person comes and gives you that mirror and you realize you're really not, that's still from years ago.
Yeah.
My divorce was finalized in 2011. And in 2020, this man put a mirror to my face and told me I am not him. Don't treat me like that. And I was just like, well, throw hands in, because what's up?
That's good.
But seriously, though, he was just like, I'm not, stop treating me like I'm him. Because let me tell you something, cell phones,
They're the devil,
end
man.
a relationship
Bobby
quicker
Boucher.
than it starts.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, like if that cell phone is out and you hit one of these, we are fighting.
Oh yeah.
You
I
turn
don't
that
know.
joker over, we are fighting.
I laugh about that, like when we go
But
to restaurants,
why?
because people will do the flip, and it's like, I don't want you to see who's texting.
What you
me.
hiding?
I get that, but that's old baggage that you have.
Exactly.
There's some people that just have the the right intentions. If I'm at a table with people, let's say I'm here at this podcast and I have my cell phone out, I'm putting it over so that I can direct my attention to this room.
Yeah, but when you
It has
get in
nothing
enough
to do with
bad
who's
relationships where the
That's what I'm
flip
saying.
meant,
That's what I'm saying.
So it's not
just
all-
old baggage.
So are you projecting?
which is what he was telling me.
Yeah.
I'm not him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was still very much healing.
But what?
Healing still.
Are those considered soul ties?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay.
That have to be broken.
Especially if you was finagling.
Oh, that was my husband. We were smashing. Even when we didn't like each other, we had a lot of sex.
That's what you call, that's worship.
At the time.
Right.
Well.
No, that was scratching the itch then. Wasn't no worship back then.
Yeah, it was. It's real because those triggers are really real. And I think we went through that phase.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say if you haven't dealt with your own stuff and the healing on your own, as soon as you get married, it's just going to put a mirror up to everything. And it's only going to be magnified because there have been times early, and it was like a lot of this stuff didn't happen until after we said I do. Like I wasn't tripping about it. I wasn't thinking about it. But as soon as we got married, it's like the enemy threw everything he could, and I took the bait.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do not have a man in your life who's saying, I'm not going anywhere, I'm willing to heal with you through this, it can be very strenuous. And that's why the divorce rate is so high, because we're not healing on our own, and we get in these relationships and we project. She projects, he projects, and it's just back and forth until we can't do this anymore.
Right.
And so you have to have the mindset going into marriage that I believe that you are the right one that God has sent for me.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what comes after this, I'm going to hold your hand through it.
Right.
I may not like you. I may want to throw hands. I may throw water bottles at you. I may, do all kinds of stuff.
Let me move that out your way.
Like those things may happen, but at the end of the day, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And for me, that was very difficult because as soon as something made me upset or I felt like I couldn't handle this, I stayed with my jogging shoes by the door.
Right.
I was wrecked. Like, I'm done.
Did you ever use that to subconsciously push him away?
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it is a subconscious thing unless you really sit back and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you know what this feels like. You've been here before, sis. Like, get it together. What are you going to do to change the narrative and the trajectory, not of your relationship, of your marriage?
Right.
And not only is this a union, a marriage, and a vow that you gave to God, you have a son. Because at this point, when we were really going through a difficult time, we had MJ by this time.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, I'm not going to put my children through the trauma that I went through when my parents were going through a difficult time. And so in order to break those generational curses, you have to get by yourself. I had to do a lot. I started going to therapy. I told him, like, you can't help me with this.
Right.
Because he was like, okay, well, what can I do? What do you need me to do? And I had to get to the point and say, bro, you can't do anything.
Yeah, do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You cannot do anything. So I had to go to therapy. Eventually, we started going together, but I had to go by myself and with him because there were things that I had to work through so that I didn't self-sabotage my marriage.
And how did you deal with that, Marcus? Because I feel like if you reach a point where your partner is saying, you can't help me, I have to do this on my own, there's a feeling of helplessness.
Yeah.
So how did you get through that period?
So for me, I know what helped me a lot was communication. We had to just have a real talk of let me know when enough is enough of me asking, are you okay? And I mean, we had the real conversation of you ask me 3 times and I say I'm good. Leave me alone. And I won't bring it up again. Because I remember early in our marriage, we had this issue of I would ask her, are you okay? What's wrong? And she said nothing. And then 3 days later, she come back like, what I was mad about on Monday was, and I'm sitting here like, you just ruined my Wednesday because of what I asked you about on Monday.
Because you done turned the mind off like, oh, she said nothing.
Because we
have two different communication styles.
Women compartmentalize, men are like spaghetti.
So true.
You know, it's just
opposite.
You
are
we
compartmentalize, and
women are like spaghetti.
Everything
Everything ties together with women. So for me, what I had to do to push through was pray for her. Of hey, she's already acknowledged it's out of my hands. So I think that was something that she did that was good for me. Was she acknowledged and she took ownership of this ain't on you. But there are a lot of relationships where that is not communicated, and a man is still constantly trying to find it, and it'll shift through levels of if I can't emotionally please you, I'll try to do it through gifts, and if I can't buy you out of this funk. Okay, all right, well, maybe I need to try something else. And that a lot of time leads to infidelity.
Wow.
It does.
Yeah.
And it'll lead to infidelity because you believe I have to, let me see if I'm the reason why this isn't the way it is. Let me try it with someone else. And if someone gives you a little bit of an inch, you'll get this ego and air that, oh, it ain't me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't leave. So I'm going to enjoy myself.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to stay away from that, because I had a lot of influences around who were doing it, and I saw it in my own life with my parents, my dad and my stepdad doing it. I told myself from jump, bruh, y'all can say a lot of things about me, but this ain't one. So for me, I had to throw myself into work. So to keep myself occupied, I had to stay in work. I found whatever I could do to keep me busy, because if not, the enemy will throw you into a loop of just frenzy, because you'll start questioning everything. Well, why did she say that the way she said it?
Ooh, which brings me to a point I just thought about. Women are emotional creatures naturally, but what we have to understand is that when we get our trigger points and we start snapping off, that might trigger an insecurity or something within the man. What I think doesn't get acknowledged enough is that men also go through things.
Yeah.
And also have trauma and also have relationships. Insecurities.
Hello. Y'all are more emotional, but that does not mean that we're not emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's unspoken that a lot of men deal with depression in relationships. It's unspoken, especially dealing with children. A lot of men go through postpartum depression.
Yes, they do.
It's unspoken that a lot of men dealing with breakups in relationships, whether it be just platonic relationship, engagement, marriage. A lot of men deal with suicidal thoughts and depression upon a breakup, and will go into a downward spiral of low self-esteem. And what'll end up happening is we'll say you're not a man because you're showing that it hurt.
Right.
And then what ends up happening is we got a lot of strong, stone-faced men who in their late 50s kill themselves or sleep around to the point of, I have to be validated because I hurt. So we have to have that real openness of, as much as we lean on our women of saying, are you okay? It has to be reciprocated. If you want a healthy relationship, as much as you want to be checked up on, you got to check up on them.
Right.
And I feel like the more that we do that in relationships, the longer it'll last, because there's a lot of pain untouched. Like even with my wife and I mean, it took pain to unveil pain.
Yeah.
It took pain to be able to feel comfortable enough to say, the reason why I'm acting like this or doing this is because something that I didn't tell you about here.
Yeah.
So, and it's not that, and this is where we had the conversation, it's not that she wasn't willing to hear it, but I felt like I wasn't strong enough or felt comfortable enough to open, because I've always seen that men don't open.
Yep.
You carry that to the grave.
Right.
And
if
then,
you felt something, you keep that.
And then as a woman, because for me, as we're more emotional, we are more open. When we find somebody that we can be vulnerable with, it's like, well, I'm gonna tell you everything, because at the end of the day, I don't want something to come up later and all of this stuff, and it'd be an issue. And so, as women, a lot of times we're so forthcoming, and men are more reserved. As women, especially in a marriage, things are gonna come out way later within the marriage. How are you gonna handle it?
Yeah,
because you don't want to discourage him from doing it again in the future.
Right.
Because if you handle it the wrong way, that's exactly what you're going to do. Because I felt like, bruh, I told you. I mean, I got
Everything.
naked. No, but I'm getting emotional because when we had that situation, I felt like you don't trust me enough to have told me that before we got married. And so I had to really pray about it because I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do with this? Because at the end of the day, it's not even about me.
Right.
He just bared his soul to me that he got hurt. I mean, hurt. And I'm angry about it because he didn't share it in a timeline that I wanted to see fit. And so as women, we have to be very, very conscious and sensitive to how we handle men when they do find that vulnerable space with you. And that's why Samson in the Bible, it was so imperative when he finally told Delilah where his strength come from, and he laid on her lap. When a man finds that vulnerable space with you and can lay down on your lap and say, this is where my strength comes from, this is where my source is coming from, that is a gift.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that men are taught to do.
Yeah.
Not in society, usually not by their fathers, because they weren't taught, and their fathers, they weren't taught, and they weren't taught. So it's a generational thing that we have to break. And I feel like we have a responsibility as women. And now it's a bigger argument now more than ever. This whole argument about, Black women are, the least protected person.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel like we're doing so much to protect Black men, but y'all don't protect us and nobody protects us. At the end of the day, if you know who you are, if you know who you love, you got a daddy, you got a brother, you got cousins, you have men in your life that you value, you do what you have to do. You have a responsibility. It doesn't matter what viewpoint you have. We have a responsibility as women to show them that they can be vulnerable with us.
Yeah, but we can be very emotionally selfish. We can
Very.
be very emotionally selfish. And I had to learn that the hard way, because I think that was one of the areas where I almost lost my fiance. Was that I kept telling him, I told you this is what bothers me. I told you. And he one time hit me with but I told you this bothers me. And I'm like, but you don't matter right now. It's me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm the one that's hurt. And we can be very me. Like, even with you being upset on his timing, we can be very emotionally selfish. And I had to look at him past being a man. He is a human. He still feels, he still breathes just like I do. And he may experience just as much as I do. But it took me a while to get to a place where I stopped and asked him, are you okay? I had to learn what triggers him. I had to learn if he says I'm fine, but he really ain't fine. You might need to leave him alone. Like, I had to learn these things. I had to learn these things about him as well as he had to learn these things about me. But this generation is if he don't treat me right, if he don't cater to me, and that is the quickest way to lose a man. Mm-hmm. It is or be cheated on. Like, it is the quickest way. And I think women have a lot of growing up to do, especially in this culture. To think outside of themselves.
I don't know. I feel like it's a great combo. As we close this out, I just feel like we have to be strong in our word, in our spirit, of who is it that God is sending for you? Who's going to seek you first off? Because you shouldn't be seeking no man. If we talking biblically, I'm just saying. So if you're looking for one, you already starting off wrong.
Right.
Like you said, it wasn't until the season of you loving yourself that God sent someone to find you.
That's when you came along. I was like,
listen,
God, we talked about this. I won't try to date.
For 20 years. Look, he was creeping for 20 years.
He was
and then he was like, all right, my turn.
I'll put it like this, as for a woman, to encourage a woman. You'll never really be able to be found if you're not in the place that you're supposed to be. If you
Within yourself.
If you leave your post to go find someone, and
Come on,
God
post.
gives the directions to your Boaz, and he ends up to the location of where you are, but you're nowhere to be found, it's not his fault. Stand still, grow, and wait. Now, to every Boaz who's acting like a dumb,
as
I'm going to just say this straight up. Get it together. there is only a certain amount of baggage that a woman will take and attribute it to grace.
Oh, triggered.
At some point, you can't expect man benefits with a boy mentality. You have to grow in all aspects, and you can grow spiritually, but still be emotionally immature.
Yeah.
You can know all the word. You can be able to shook 'em a higher, do whatever you want. But if emotionally you don't know how to love someone correctly, you'll never be satisfied.
Shook 'em higher.
Shook 'em a higher. I don't know. I want to encourage everyone because I told y'all this season I really wanted to give application and challenges to our listeners to where they're leaving out with something and a task. I would challenge everyone who's listening or who's watching, find out your love language, what it is that pleases you.
It's life-changing.
It is. Find your love language. Read the book, the 5 love languages. Find out what it is that causes you to be satisfied so you can communicate it to your significant other or to whoever you're searching for or whoever you come in contact with. Because the last thing you want is someone to buy you a bunch of gifts, but your love language is quality time or physical touch. So learn what your love language is, and just find a book, read it, take a quiz. But that's our challenge for you this week. We want everyone to love on purpose and love in purpose. All right, y'all. Check y'all out next episode.
Bye.
Peace.